My name is Gabriele, and my little accent is German, just to make you comfortable. My first pedigree was in Germany. I'm a full grown-up German and trained there. So I have an academic path. I have one foot still in academia. That means all the science, all the research. And one foot, as a tree always, I have my roots in the ground, and as a tree, my head up in the clouds. So through my own life experiences and a lot of thinking and a lot of experiences that life put me through, I came to add through life without knowing. It was not my career to go in the field of what's called now complementary medicine and all the holistic approaches. It's life put me there. So I have those both sides, and I want today to bring you out of experience, out what I'm doing on a daily basis is accompany people. They live with cancer, women, men. I have a group with their caretakers, and also I'm a group in the center from people who are living with chronic disease. So part of me is still studying. I'm teaching nurses in the field of holistic, the holistic experience, and on the other side I'm being with people who go through on a daily basis through all those challenges. So my presentation tonight, I hopefully will be interactive. And we will start right now with doing the stop sign. What does it mean, the stop sign? The stop sign is just stop everything you're doing right now. Put your feet on the ground, please. Be with me. Put everything away what you have, no crayons, no nothing. Sit comfortable on their chair. Don't slouch, please. Just put your back on the chair, that your back is supported. Easy. And for a minute, let your eyes rest. And those who are really comfortable, even close your eyes. That's not a signal of sleeping. Closing your eyes helps your brain to focus on your inner world. That's what it does. So let's do that right now. And the most easiest thing, just focus on your breath. Your breath is always there. Just follow it. And to your mind, say, I'm breathing in and I'm breathing out. And just let it flow. And maybe you come to the point where it's easy. Just a nice feeling of the waves of your breath coming and going. And you might want to use a little picture, like maybe on the beach, the waves coming and going, or whatever is comfortable. Just call all your energies, everything you are, back to you. You had a day, you had many encounters, you had all kinds of thoughts, all kinds of activities, and just say to yourself, I bring all my energies back to me. You don't have to feel anything particular. Just have that intention that you pull yourself all together. And do that for a second. And come back to your breath, and if you had your eyes closed, you may open them. And I recommend that we will do it again. That is just a mini vacation, a little interior vacation for yourself, to just be able to cut off everything that's going on, eyes closed or eye open, because, and I will talk about that maybe a little bit later, your physiology, that means your body, your health, depends on that capacity to interiorize, to go into another space inside. Here we are. One of the questions that I had for you tonight was, what is a human being? So for yourself, what would be the answer? Robert, yeah?
Spirit incarnate.
Spirit incarnate, yes?
I was going to say body, mind, and soul all together.
Body, mind, and soul all together. Wonderful. Yeah?
Conscious animal.
Conscious animal. Wonderful. Something else?
Self-aware animal.
Self-aware animal? Yeah, thank you. You see, all kinds of answers, they have a common sense, and at the same time, if I would go on, there are so many aspects that actually I think I can't answer that question. really? What is a human being? There are many aspects to a human being, and every answer reflects what our experience is most about. Would you agree with that? At the same time, I put those little pictures out because you can see the human being as something very wonderful, mysterious, as the little lamp. This little baby has the little lamp in where he can bring out the spirit and all the miracles. And on the other side, you can have a perception of life, of a human being, of stretching itself through life. And so, this is another answer. A human being is scientifically, you can see here I use the brain. The left picture represents all the capillaries and all the blood vessels in the brain. It's very intricate, it's very beautiful actually. And science would look as a human being, as all the organs and the intricate relationships of what's going on. And you could see the brain like in the right picture, which is the connection to the universe, the openness. A brain that is beyond the mind, beyond the brain. We go farther out there. Here we have all those theories, concepts and paradigms, which are our ways of looking at the human being. I make that very, very quickly. You see, you have medicine, you have biology, science, physics, education. Everyone, philosophy, would define the human being in a different way. And that is what we have most of the time in our heads. What we learn about human being is a way of looking at concepts and theories, ways from looking at the human being from the outside. What is a human being? And that's how I was educated, and you see the picture of those wheels that turn in the mind. The mind is the thing that thinks and that operates and gives us the answers. We want answers. We need to know. What we forget, and particularly for us or for you, when you have the encounter with our science of medicine, most people take medicine or science as a kind of absolute, something really out there that knows. And I want to bring you back to that all those aspects of the human being have an grain of truth, find something. And even medicine is evolving with every day. And to be more precise, with all you sitting here in this room, with every person, medicine is growing in knowledge and experience. Because not one human being is the same. You're all unique, we forget that, and we seem to look for something normal that applies to all. And I can tell you that because I was lately in November in a specialty course, in a training for professionals again for cancer in Montreal. And in between the professionals, the thing was, yes, I said every human being, every cancer is different. Even every prostate cancer is different. Whatever the type of cancer it is, a doctor has to find a way of to relate to the person and find out what specifically works for that person. And that's a fact. And we forget that sometimes. And what we forget also, when I just think back, 150 years ago, there was this doctor who was an obstetrician, and he observed, he was a fine diagnostician, and looked at people and said, oh, when I wash my hands, women don't die at childbirth as much, or babies don't die as much. So he wrote a paper, presented to his doctor colleagues, and said, maybe if we wash our hands, people die less. That was before the microscope was invented. And you know what happened? The guy was ridiculed. People were laughing at him. Doctors were laughing. He said, what a thing, washing your hands. That was medicine then. So medicine today seems to be so far advanced. But in my perspective of what I hear, I'm sure that already in 30 years, it will be quite different. And maybe in 50 years, we'll look back at what we're doing today in medicine and how we treat, and we will say, my God, that was torture. We're poisoning people, we're killing them. That's as can it go. We don't know. With every person, we try and we do the best. I'm not blaming medicine and all that, but just to get you back to your awareness that is an individual process and medicine is not an absolute. For example, the paradigms. What is a paradigm? A paradigm is a way of thinking. That is taken out of my biology book in the 50s. There's a human being standing at the top of the line. It starts down there with all the little cells and then the development to the right, into the animals, and to the left, into the plants and other little beings. So that was the hierarchy, or that was the way people were thinking in the 50s and even in the 60s still. We come out of that. There was the human being, the top of the creation. Here is standing under the ape. Okay? So that's a way of thinking. We came out of that thought that we are the top of the creation. Now, how does it change? That is the new model. The new model is interdependence. That we are all linked together. That's just a model out of a biology book about the interdependence in a North American forest. That means all the little critters up to the trees, the animals, and so on and so forth. There's not a hierarchy. There's not one tree that's better than the other, or not one animal greater or more powerful than the other. Even the big ones depend on the little ones. And that you know now. You have learned all about that, how when we kill certain mosquitoes or certain bugs, the frogs disappear, and then the birds disappear, and so on and so forth in the chain of life. We are now having this consciousness of interdependence. And I will come back to that. That's a way of thinking. That's a paradigm. And that influences us also. It's out in the scholarships, it's out in the in science, that we have to consider that we're not alone. We're not an island. Now, what is human potential? What do you see as human potential? Write that down for yourself, please. What is, in your aspect, the human potential?
Endless opportunity.
Yes, endless opportunity. Potential is always growing more, never ending, yeah? Possibilities, yes. Possibilities, never ending. Probabilities, things that don't stop. And that's exactly where science goes now today. And that's a very big event that happened in the last century in science. We're on a roller coaster, on a huge human adventure of being able, over the last 30, 40 years, 50 years, since the computers got better and better, and the scans developed, the MRIs, the functional scans and all the PET scans and all the scans available, that we can look now at our brain, which was the last frontier in the organs, because the brains we couldn't see. They were only studying dead brains. And now we can see our brain, our supercomputer, in action, not only with people that have a mental problem or whatever and need surgery, but really actually healthy people with a healthily functioning brain. Let yourself just flow with your breath, breathing in and breathing out. And maybe breathing out, make it easy and fun. Then imagine, if you like water, you're under your shower and it flows the water all the way down to the feet. And make your out breath a little bit longer than your in breath. And let it all the way flow down. Just easy. Make like that 2, 3, 4 breaths. And if the noise outside takes you away, just come back. Tell yourself to come back to your breath. And come back. slowly open your eyes. Why do you think I bring you to the little thing, that stop sign, and say, stop, we're breathing? Anyone having an idea?
Live in the present.
Live in the present, yeah, that's one aspect, yes. Somebody else? An idea? Why would we do that? And you can read it a lot. I mean, it's not my invention here. You know that you can't open a magazine without reading about how you should concentrate on your breath and do breathing and all that. Why would it be so? What's the very first thing you did when you came into life? You took the first breath. That's the guarantee that you're alive, even if the baby's very healthy and doesn't breathe. So breathing is one of the very existential, very deep patterns we have that organizes our life. Breathing in is taking life in. Breathing out is a little death, like dying, letting go. Our whole rhythm of our life is based on that pattern. We forgot that. Another thing is our breath is our ally. It's always available. It's there. I can just think about breathing in and concentrate on that. Now, where it gets so interesting is breathing. When you practice that consciously, you're breathing all the time. There's nothing very special about that. I can look at that. We do it all the time. And we can look at all the traditions and all the people, the cultures over the world that learned breathing and took it further into what we call now mindful breathing or conscious breathing. That means putting our attention to our breath and let us be drawn inside of us, inside into the feeling of breathing, not just the mental body. The mind says I'm breathing in and out, but going into the feeling. And you know what? They found out that our brain likes that. First of all, the brain takes a good part of oxygen right away, because it needs it. But not only that, it is a rhythm that calms the body down. And I will be more specific about that. That's the very first step if you ever want to heal. If you want to add something to your own healing, other than taking your medication, whatever the doctor prescribes, there are parts that we have in our hands, and now with all the brain studies, with neuroscience, with looking into the brain and understanding what's happening, they found out, for example, that breathing is a very important pattern, and for people who are able to control their breath, means use it in a rhythm, it adds a frequency into the brain that is necessary, absolutely necessary if you want to heal whatever aspect. Okay, so here comes a very powerful tool we have, and we start to understand. Now, what are the ingredients for healing? And the lady said that totally. Body, emotion, mind, and spirit. For spirit, I could say also soul. That's what is called the holistic model. Do you think of the Russian dolls? Have you seen those Russian dolls, one in another? Okay, so if you have those Russian dolls, which part would be the small doll and which part would be the big doll? If you put them together in this model, if you use body, mind, spirit, emotion, which would be the big doll, which would be the small doll? Body, the small doll, like in the picture I gave you. And it's about that, because the other aspects surround our body. We see our body like that's the big part, and that the soul and the heart lives inside. I want to bring to your attention that's the other way around. We understand now, and it sounds philosophical and maybe poetic and maybe loud, for some of you totally esoteric, and bear with me, it is not. Because that's what I say, neuroscience pulled our image of who we are and how we function totally upside down. And right now we struggle with that in education everywhere. We have to live with this type of reality and saying, how do we change that? So the body is the small part. The next part around this that is very strong are the emotions. I could call that the emotional body. Then we have the mental body. That's another body in itself. And then the spirit body, which is another substance, which is also measurable. I will show you later a picture about that. So these are these four entities that we are made of. And in a healing process, if we want to heal, it's not just about the physical body. The physical body is the last frontier. It comes down from the other areas, from the other structures, into the physical body. That is now the view that starts to be accepted. Okay? So, any questions to that? Probably you know that it's not that new. So for you, the understanding is, if I want to heal my body, and sometimes it is simple, we don't have actually much knowledge about our body. Physical hygiene, we have been trained. You eat well, you brush your teeth and all that. You do workouts. But do you actually really know, for example, how you digest a piece of bread, a piece of toast, or a banana, or yogurt? Could you explain to me the total from the moment I take a bite, how I start digesting it? Does anybody know here? Anybody? No? That's what I mean. You know, we seem to know our body and we know so little about it as a human being. I mean, a doctor may be able to explain you, or whatever scientist, to say, yeah, when we take a bite of toast and then the enzymes start already in the tongue and the teeth and this and that. And it's a long, complex process. Would you agree with me? So simple things like that we don't know. We know very little about our body. We know how it feels, but how it really functions, most people don't even know. It's like a car. Think about your motor. I mean, I know nothing about my motor, but I hear the click, click, click or whatever. I hear how I use my car, and I would know when it's a little bit out of sync, something will tell me. But I'm this type of person. Yeah, Gerard, you may smile. I'm this type of person going to the garage guy and saying, yeah, you know, when I do that, it makes click, 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 and when it's there, it makes clunk, 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 and something like that. You know, that's most of the time how we relate to our body also. If something doesn't feel right and so on, and that's fine. So don't get too much wrought up into wanting to understand. That is one thing I see when people get cancer, they almost become doctors. They almost have all the litany about all the medication and the expressions, and sometimes I have, did you study medicine or whatever? But they read their reports and all that and get really confused because it gets really, really heavy about that. So be aware that maybe about the body we don't know much, but you will have the reactions. You will feel how you feel with your medication. And some people will say, I'm so tired, I'm this and that. And you're right, that's how you react to a specific substance, for example, and that's important to know and important to share. Now the next part is the emotion, the emotional body. It's a very strong body. What is the emotional body for you? Can you give me an example? What is an emotional body? And what's your emotional hygiene? That would be my next question. Okay. Did you ever had disappointment of loving somebody and you were rejected when you were young, you know, the first love or whatever? How did you feel after that? Where did you feel it? Or somebody, you want to tell somebody something and you know it's a difficult subject and you don't know how to say it. How do you feel? And where do you feel it?
Well, you feel it in your stomach sometimes.
Yeah. For example, yeah. You could have really nauseous cramps almost. Yeah, totally. What else? What other feelings that are related to emotions? For example, heartbreak. Where do you feel it? In your heart. You might feel like you have a knife cutting through your heart, or a sword going through, or a knot in your throat. Did you have ever the feeling to have this little thing in your throat or even the stomach, like a big knot, and no X-ray would find that knot? Or in your stomach also, no X-ray would find that knot? Have you had that? That's what we call the emotional body. That means our emotions are so strong that they have an influence on our bodies. And we say now, we call that the emotional anatomy. People don't have only an anatomy from genetics, but also a way of showing their emotions. If you can read a body language, and the shape of the body tells about the story of the person. It tells about childhood, tells about how we were raised, how we are thinking. That would be another subject. I don't get further in that. But I want to bring to your understanding, every time, every thought we have, every thought has a chemical reaction. That's we know today. A thought is not just a thought. Every thought has a color, has a feeling. We don't stop at that. That's how powerful our thoughts are. And they give shape to our cells, to our structures, continuously, on the continuous basis. So our emotions are a very, very strong indicator of our health. Yes, Bill? Yes, totally. That the psyche and the soma, which means body, are related together. And psychosomatic is not an imminent image only or something out there. It is really because, think about it, if you're in fear or anxiety or doubt or insecurity, what does the cells do? They contract. There's a pulsation. Cells always move. So our emotions, what I'm saying here, our emotions, everyday emotions, are as powerful as a pill you're taking. It's a medication. Yes? Sorry? Yes, totally. That's where it comes in. And I will read you a story about that. Okay, here, another part of our healing or our emotional body, that's for the women in the room. Here I started with the ladies, is the self-image. The self-image in an emotion is the question, for example, how do others perceive me? How do I appear to others? That's important. The image I want to project, and there are a lot of scientists and even doctors who have written about that and who have thought about that. Now, you see typically women. I hope you smile when you see that. A woman looks in the mirror, and what does she see? She looks beautiful, and she sees all the defects and all what's not okay. Most of the time. And look here. For you. What science found out that our self-image... Do you want to go back just to see the difference? Okay, now you see, self-image is a part of us in our emotional makeup that says that now science says our image of ourself, which is trained we're very, very young, is always active and makes our decisions on an unconscious way 95% of the time. So we have registered our emotions from long time ago, and they shape our health, they shape our understanding of who we are, they shape our fears of life or our courage to go into life. And these are all the ingredients from health, because most of the time we see health as the physical health, what we eat, what we drink, the way we make exercise and all that. And it's much more to that. And on our emotional body and on our self-image, it's only us we can work. A doctor has no power of that one. So that's where I want to bring you slowly to your own recognition of being unique and having a lot of power over your health from aspects that maybe go beyond, that look like, oh yeah, I can do that, and now they become significant because the brain registers every emotion. And with every thought, there is a chemical reaction. Now, if the emotion is unpleasant, the thoughts will be unpleasant, it just goes in the loop. And you will have all kinds of unpleasant neurochemicals in your system that lower the energy, that lower the healing impact, and so on and so forth. So, I would say men usually say, what kind of a person do I present to the world outside? And women are more, who am I really inside? There is a difference in the brain and difference in the perception. I'm generalizing a little bit here, but that's the thing. Who am I outside? And we both need. Now here again, it's the same scheme that I proposed to you. Those 4 bodies, they need their hygiene, and they're all who I am. The little person in the middle with the heart, they play around over and over. Every day we have to deal with our body, with our emotions, with our mind, what we're thinking, and with our spirit. I haven't talked about spirit yet. So, this is the person we are. These are all aspects, and our question is, what are you doing for your emotional health, for your mental health, for your spiritual health? What is it for you? That's your question. And I ask you to write down right now for yourself. Just jot it down for yourself. What are you doing? What am I doing for my physical health every day on a routine? Brushing the teeth for sure. Are you brushing your teeth? Body hygiene, physical hygiene is evident because we learned that. Now we're learning, and that's over the last 30 years and more so in the last 15 years, gets very, very important that we need an emotional, mental hygiene. They kind of go together. Our emotional body, as I said, is very strong. Emotions have an impact right on the cells, on the cell structure, on our breathing. You know, a child who is sad and cries, and Papa says, Mama says, stop crying. What will the child do? And the mother says, stop crying. You know that? Did you do that ever? Stop crying by the breathing, by stopping breathing, almost stopping the breath. That's how we control emotions. Are you agree with that? Yeah? If you have a strong emotion and somebody says don't cry, or I see people, as today in the group, there is a problem, whatever, sadness, and start crying, and then they look around, somebody sees me, do like that. So by doing that, your body contracts, taking the oxygen away, and so on and so forth. And all that, this moment, is registered. And some cells take long to take that off. Did you know, for example, that in gestation, that they have reactions, emotional reactions? You know, they hurt, they laugh, they cry. Did you know also they have fear? They can stop their position on their movements for 24 hours because they get scared. That has been found sometimes by chance because people looked at the ultrasound and all that, and something happened at that moment, and then they realized that the baby reacts to emotion, to the fear and all that. So, emotion, as I said, is very important. And then the mental body, our thoughts. Every thought is like, and I'm talking science, but it sounds very poetic. Every thought is like a radio wave. It's like you're sending out a signal into the environment. Every thought. So, what is the quality of our thoughts? If we send them out into the environment, do they have an impact on ourselves and our health and our whole thing? Just to make you think a little bit. What we now say, what science says, that the subjective world, that means our inner world, has an impact on the outer world. It's not the other way around. So from the inside, our health goes from the inside, from who we are, who we think we are. Our emotions, our trained emotions, have a huge impact on all the healing processes. And here, an example. When you are diagnosed with, or you get the information, the challenges we all want, we need to understand. When the doctor says you have prostate cancer, you say, okay, why me? Need to understand. Explain to me. Then comes very often for them the idea of eventually rage, or it's unjust. This why me question. Why does it happen to me? I did everything I can. I'm a good person. I did this. I was eating right. I was always exercising. I had a good life, and so on and so forth. Then comes a cycle of guilt and shame very often. I didn't do it right. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there is something wrong with me. Fear and anxiety. How will that go on? I'm helpless. I'm overwhelmed. I don't know what. May go into depression, panic, and so on and so forth, and then the cycle again. That's the loop of those unbeneficial emotions that you usually go into right away when you hear a bad news like a diagnosis with cancer. Here, I have another list of those emotions, and my question is here for you. Okay, pick out one of those and ask yourself, do you know any one of those emotions, even pre-diagnosed, that are kind of familiar to you? Something that you know in your life. You kind of feel, some people feel always a form of sadness, a form of not belonging, a form of abandonment, resentment, some frustration, some it will never work, some lack, and so on and so forth. There are many more, but those are some basic emotions you may have, and you learn them from deep down when you were a child. So I won't go deep in that, but let me tell you that when we are young, from 0 to 6 years of age, our brain is very open, very vulnerable. That's where we get all the programs. And there are instilled not just the thoughts about life, but that's where you learn really who you are. So from 0 to 3 years of age, the core personality is already formed, even if the logic and the rational mind starts in with 6, 7 years of age, usually when we go to school, then where we start developing that other aspect of us. But 95% of who you are today were really programmed, and I use that word, it's like a computer, your technology with which you function all your life. And only 5% is new. So, this said, every morning when we wake up and we think it's a new day and we do something new, already 95% is the same old, same old. Think the same things, have the same old feelings, and then the question is, how do you want to heal? It's the same thing, the same pattern. So that what now science tells us, if we want to change our healing, our options, we need to change, to look at our emotions, change our brain. So, hello, my question is, what is your preferred parasite? What is parasite in your life? That's just a little parasite that lives in your intestines or something, in your environment. So what's your parasite? How are we parasiting? Ask you that question. What is this unbeneficial or not easy emotion that you carry with you? Because that's a drain. That's a constant drain that's just there all the time. And why I'm saying that? It's because you have a grip on those. So the question is, do I know myself? Do I know the emotions that really drain me and really leave marks in my overall health, my emotional and mental health? And here, know thyself. All the old cultures have already said that, and today our medicine says we need to know who we are, how we're thinking, how we're feeling, because that gives our strength, is doing our basics for our body, for our health. Who are you is a very deep spiritual question. And there are practices in some cultures where they sit down face to face and ask that question over and over and over again to the person, because it's an endless thing. You can't answer who you are. Think about it. You will say, I'm a mother, I'm a wife, I'm a woman, I'm a thinker, I'm a professional, I'm this, I'm a patient, I'm a doctor, I'm whatever. I don't know what to say, I'm confused, I'm helpless, I'm in love, I'm this, I'm bored, I'm frustrated, and so on and so forth. You can go on forever.
But where was that all leading?
That was all leading that I tell you need to know yourself. We need to understand who we are in order to activate our forces of healing. Here, look at that one. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and is expecting another result. And so for healing, if I want to heal whatever it is, be it prostate cancer, be add to my field, if I do the same thing I've always done, it's not just taking medication. It just maybe, and what you all do, you make life changes, you eat different, and so on and so forth. That's the first part. What I want to bring you, what science brings you now, brings us, we need to take care of our emotions, we need to take care of our mind, of how we think. What are the thoughts that always go in my mind? Every morning when I wake up, do I think, oh, what another day, I'm so tired? Well, that will be the result of tiredness. It's the same thing over and over again. And that is called, we're hypnotizing ourselves with the same thoughts over and over. So healing can go very long if we take that in account, if we don't think about ourselves as being a being that can change, and we need to change our thoughts. Personality creates reality. If I'm looking at life only from the bright side, or do I have also the other side? That's another factor now in the brain. The brain changes with every thought. So we have control over that. And it's not just positive thinking. It's how do I feel about myself. It comes again into back. Now let's stop again. Breathe, take a breath. Make it just a good moment of coming back to yourself. Add that one. That's necessary, because by doing that you change your brain right there. And whatever happening, you don't even have to close your eyes, you just come back in, back out, attention, back into myself. Where am I? How do I feel? What's going on? Very important. And make it just a habit. Stop, go inside. Stop, go outside. Stop, go inside. Now the questions. What are my tools? What are my tools to take care of myself, to know how I'm thinking, how I'm feeling? Now, I will be a little bit more precise about the brain. We cannot heal when we're in a thinking mode. Like we're totally thinking all the time, and you know that when you had insomnia, when the brain runs wild all the time, that it is in a frequency like radio waves. You know, here are the radio stations that have 95.7 or 93 point whatever, those frequency bands, yeah? Follow me? The brain has the same bands. I make it now very, very simple and generalizing. But we know now that when a person is thinking and figuring things out in the logical mind most of the time, the healing cannot occur in the body. The cells cannot regenerate. The body needs a frequency band, which is called the alpha state, which is the inducing for the first part that the body can heal itself. So it's not just the medication. You can take a medication. If you're constant in worry and constant thinking, it won't do very much, and it can recur. Now, that part of being in that state of called relaxation, You hear that over and over. You hear about you should meditate, you should do mindfulness breathing, you know all the techniques, to a point where you get stressed just when you hear about how you shouldn't stress. That had occurred to you. You can't hardly take a magazine anymore where they don't talk about how you should relax and all that. This is because of this brain research frequency band, that the body needs that kind of facilitation, calm, inner calm, to repair itself. So breathing, that's why I said stop, breathe, is the very first step to do that. So find for yourself, and that's one recommendation, practical recommendation I have for you really, get a grip on your breathing. That means use it as a good ally. Use your breath like you can count to 1, 2, 3, 4 breathing in, 1, 2, 3, 4 breathing out, for example. Or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. Then you occupy your mind while you're counting. Your mind is good. And you just do the breathing. And you can do that more and more. And those people who meditate and center, you can add something else. You can add the focus on your heart, for example. You can imagine a nice picture and go in the feeling. That is the state, the minimal state where your body starts to kick in to do any repair work. Look at that state. It's very interesting. Read about that. But what I wanted to bring to you, it's all that information about relaxation, about stress reduction in whatever form, aims at getting your brain into that state, in this frequency band where the body can start to heal. Okay? Any questions about that right now? It's a very, very interesting field. And that means you can have power over your body. That's that part why I'm talking about it. That's brain hygiene. That's mental hygiene and emotional hygiene. That's as important, if not more right now, than physical hygiene. You know, when somebody doesn't wash him or herself for a week or a month, what you would say, what would happen? Yeah, like a real old cheeseburger. Let's agree with that. Now my question is, if you don't care for your emotions and your thoughts, how would that do? What does that do? Do you agree there might be some toxins swimming around in the body over a certain amount of time? So now I say that to you because that's new. You can't know that. Do you understand? You didn't learn that in school, and me either. That's the new field. But why I find it so important? Because you and you and you, everybody has a grip on that one. Your emotions belong to you. Your life story belongs to you. You're questioning yourself about who am I deep down? What are my feelings? Does it feel good? Does that thought that I have, for example, write that down, please. I give you that as a little chocolate. Does the thought I have right now does me good? Does it do me good? Is it a thought I really like? Is it beneficial for me? Because we have so many thoughts that run through our minds all the time, and we just think because we're thinking, we're doing something. We know now that 95% of everything you're thinking, as I said, you thought the day before. It's the same old, same old, same old, same old. That's why things repeat all the time. So the question is a thought. If you have a thought, for example, oh my God, what will happen tomorrow? I heard today, I have my scan next week. What will be? And then the anxiety builds, the frustration, the fear comes up. The question is, does that thought do you good right now? It's a thought. From all the millions and billions of thoughts we can have, why we choose that one and let it run around and around and around. So the first aspect for your mental hygiene is, am I aware of my thoughts? Is the thought I'm having right now a good thought that I like, that makes me feel good? It's as simple as that. And if not, stop right there. And you see what Einstein said? There are only two ways to live your life. One is as though nothing is a miracle, and the other thing as everything is a miracle. That means don't see yourself in normalcy and diagnosis and everything. Go into the adventure of finding out who you really are. You're a very unique being. And sometimes, as I say, in groups like that, I would like to sit down with every one of you and just listen to your story. And we could write a book. We could write a book and appreciate that book that you are. And work on the pages, work on the content. And here I bring you another chocolate. It's like for me, I invite you to good port and dark chocolate. Do you like that? I like that. Okay, nyam, nyam, nyam. So I added that particular picture, which comes from the institute that I work with, and I'm licensed. They use biofeedback tools and in a very short way of describing, that's one of the institutes in the world that contributed a lot to the knowledge, the role of the heart, the role that the heart has in our health, in our body. Now, to bring it in a very precise version, our heart has a brain. Did you know that? And we called it now the third brain. What's the first brain, by the way? What's the first brain? Hello? That's that one. Yeah, that's the first brain. The second brain. Around the stomach, in the intestines. Yeah, because there is 80% of our immune system. So, and we know there are nerve cells that think and take signals and send the signals. That's always that when a nervous system responds and sends messages. It is the second brain. So imagine just from that one, our second brain in our intestines, and our emotions most of the time are in the stomach and we feel them here, the impact on our health just from the second brain. Now, what came as a lightning when science found out about the role and the third brain, which is in the heart. Did you know that your heart is not only a pump, but your heart thinks and feels and keeps information as memory? Did you know that? Here it goes. So, believe me, I don't show now all the other slides. We would spend 5 days together. I try to make it short, but to bring you very concise and precise information. So our heart feels everything and registered everything. And for the short version of that is, you know, by heart transplants, that is known now that some people changed their personality, very dramatically so, or changed their way of seeing life or doing things they never did before. The studies are numerous, more and more. It's very fascinating. In the beginning they said, oh, they are under drugs or they are so disturbed by the surgery that people don't know. But now they found out and say, no. It actually happens something very tremendously. People, for example, who don't like classical music wake up and love classical music, and even more to that, to a point that science says now the findings are there, the documents are there. It just say it is significant enough to talk about it and to say there's really something going on. And on the other hand, we don't know, we don't understand what's going on. So the importance of the heart, and we understand more and more that the heart registered about what we feel, who we are for life. It's there. We don't always retrieve it, but it's there. So this picture here particularly, it's not an esoteric picture, it looks like, but this is actually the electromagnetic field of the heart. You know, when you go in a hospital, they have the electrocardiogram and you see all the lines, which is our energy of our heart. We can measure that, and now we can measure with those more precise apparatus the outpour of this electromagnetic field energy. You know, it's a pumps all the time, it's electricity and so on and so forth, that this field, because everything is electric and magnetic, go back to physics, I won't talk about that right now, and it emanates, and we are able to measure it 3 to 5 to 12 feet. It doesn't mean, in my perspective, it goes even further. It's just that's the way we can measure it right now. So that means you and I were all sitting the whole evening already in the fields of our hearts, one of the other. And we say now, the brain talks, we talk from brain to brain, and we talk from heart to heart. And if our heart field is what's here called coherent, that means in sync, our whole body is in that coherent wave. Information the heart sends out more signals to the brain than the reverse. So what we find now, the heart sends a lot of signals about your feelings, about who you are, your emotions, to the big brain, and the big brain picks it up and says, oh, okay, fine, nice signal. So this signal is put into all the organs and system, into the whole physiology. And the rhythm of the heart, and don't talk about that now, how they measure it, but this very specific rhythm in between the heartbeats determines how the body receives the signal and is sending the signals out. Neurochemically, hormonal, everything is tied together. It goes through the emotional, the limbic, and the amygdala, and all those systems. So we can do the loops. That means your heart is has an important function. If the signal is incoherent, that means jagged like that, then the signal that is sent to the whole body is incoherent, which means, before even having cancer or whatever, think about our society and how stressed we are over the years, and just all that builds up, and how many diseases we have, all kinds of physiological and problems and societal diseases. Now we find out it's not just how we eat and the air and the pollution, environment is important, but also our own inner world contribute a tremendous part to our overall health. And why I'm saying that is I give you all that information because I know it's not out, not enough yet, for different reasons. And I give you that because on that part, you have a power. Your empowerment is your self-esteem about yourself, how you know yourself, how you treat yourself. Do you think well about yourself, or do you beat yourself up and say, oh, I'm so lost, I'm so whatever, the F word, I'm terrible, I'm this, I'm that, and putting yourself down? This is not just a thought, it's a signal, it's a chemical in your body. So, some resources. I just wrote down some books that write about those, and people that speak about neuroscience, for example. Andrew Newberg, you have the YouTube, I put it out, you will have it on your slide. You go on YouTube and I say Andrew Newberg, who speaks about, had written the book, the latest one, How God Changes Your Brain. You have David Hawkins, who measured consciousness and the levels of consciousness in human beings. Is a classic, you will find several books on the website. Bruce Lipton, I just wrote the names because you will find the books. His classical is Biology of Belief, where he showed that even our DNA, our genetics, are changeable by thought. And he is a research scientist, and so on and so forth. Larry Dossey is a doctor and has written extensively about prayer, about thinking, about thought. Now this is the very last thing. What? It's a dog coming out of water. And I want you all to get up right now. Get up and shake yourself out like that dog coming from the water. Shake yourself. Shake, 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 shake. And shake everything out, this woman said here up front, because everything you will need, you will know. So forget the whole thing and shake yourself out, and shake yourself out a lot. And with that, I say thank you to all of you for your attention and being with me and holding on through all this whole presentation. I hope you got something out of it. And if you have any questions, I'm here. Hang on to me. That's all. Thank you.
Gabriele, on behalf of PCC in Ottawa, I have a little gift for you. It's a scarf. It goes with red, it goes with black, it goes
Wonderful.
with everything. I thank you very much for your presentation tonight.
Thank you. Thank you.
There you go. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.